We'll be serving you all of the local headlines rolled out and then get the analysts to devour it, digest it, and break it down for you, and then get your thoughts onto the phone number 0809-444-0981. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. I welcome you specially. It's a Friday. So let's get to the analyst this morning as I make welcome Joseph Obari from the nation's capital. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Omatseye. Good morning, all Smooth FM fans all over the world. Ebi, welcome.
Hi, good morning.
AB Bozimo, good morning to you. Good morning. Welcome. But let's
good morning to everybody.
So we can also let you know you can go over to youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos to catch if you miss any part of this conversation freshly pressed. You can go over there and see what it's all about. But then you can also be part of it by going over there to watch how it feels like, having these two gentlemen sandwiched by them, and then we're getting the papers across to you this morning. So if you're ready, let's go and have AB would tee us off this morning, even though I don't know if he has a member of a golf club anywhere in Port Harcourt, or probably the Ogunu golf club somewhere in Warri, but we'll find out. This one, I believe, would serve like breakfast to you real well because it's your forte. Now, Lagos government adopts measures against skyrocketing cost of building materials. That's according to the Vanguard newspaper. As you help us break down the story, would also like you to throw in those elements of the announcement that was made by a certain cement producer of the need to crash down prices, and link all of this up for us. Thank you, AB.
Okay, in this story, the main thrust as published is that the Commissioner for Housing is disappointed that certain contractors are not delivering on their mandate to provide affordable housing for the very good citizens of Lagos. So that is the main thrust of the story. And, they had some meetings, they are going to do some things. They have not actually told us what they are going to do, but they're going to re-examine the contracts and see those who are serious contractors and those who are not may now be, displaced. In terms of reducing the cost, as the headline says, of building materials, one of the major inputs in construction in our part of the world is cement, which is a component of concrete. Recently, we heard that there have been some announced releases by some of the big name cement producers who are taking the initiative on their own to slash the price. And it seems to be causing some other big names to do something similar. So that is overall a good thing. In fact, it is ironic that when the government said they wanted to start using concrete roads, some of the companies, maybe to attract attention to their product, decided to slash the price. So it goes against normal economics, which demand should, lead to more pricing because there's more demand, but that's okay. Here, I think there are some things they can do in terms of the contracts. They are going to sit down and discuss price variation, because very often the prices that were the basis of the contracts being let have changed over time, especially when you don't deliver in a timely manner. So there are some conversations going on, but the bottom line that's good about the story is that the government is committed to providing affordable housing for the good citizens of Lagos. So any way we go about the contractually, getting mass procurement contracts to some of these elements, because it's not just concrete, you have the finishes, you have the services, anything you can do to help the process while strictly maintaining quality. And that was a good part of the story. They said, we are making sure that we don't have the mistakes that happened before, where some buildings maybe start sinking and all that. So they are trying to maintain the proper quality. And at the end of the day, as long as those projects are well positioned, well constructed, well sited, and well maintained, then they will be for the benefit of the people. The most important line is that the government said these are not necessarily houses for profit, which is part of government's responsibility to at least provide a measure of social housing. So I think overall the story has merits, and I look forward to more information coming out on this project.
Let's still stay with you a bit because it's still related to Lagos. So we'd just like you to help us close up the Lagos chapter of this, freshly pressed this morning, then before we go over to Abuja. Now, this next story here says 18 trailers removed from the Apapa Oshodi expressway. That's according to the Guardian newspaper. I'd like you to help us speak how we got to this point where these tankers and heavy-duty vehicles have become a menace to life in itself in Lagos, and how they seem to be above the law.
In fact, the key sentence in this entire story is the word consequences. Consequences. There is no earthly reason why before now, literally for decades, certain tanker drivers or operators would feel that it is an option available and open to them to actually stop their tankers willy-nilly at different parts of public roads and constitute thereby an absolute and utter nuisance and menace to the larger society. So the government is now meting out consequences. It has taken long enough, I would say, but that said, the day a man wakes up is his morning. As long as they now throw these things away and dispose of them in a place with extremely high financial punishments, I think it may serve as a deterrent. And part of the punishment could be that if your truck is thrown away, anything inside it is distributed for free. I think when you have that kind of consequence facing you, you will stop leaving your truck and blocking the road. I remember when we could drive right from Oworonshoki to Apapa in a matter of minutes. That time I used to enjoy it on Sunday mornings because there's little traffic on Sunday. I would just blow and go and visit my uncle there. Now that is a no-go area, all that mile 2 and all that. But with this kind of consequence, I look forward to that road way being open. Now, side by side with that, we must mention the maintenance state of those roads. Those roads there, if I remember, were extremely bad. If something good is being done, that's good. But remember, if the trucks were there, you could not even repair the roads underneath them. So first step, get rid of those trucks. Next step, maintain the roads so that movement in and around Lagos, which could easily be called the Venice of Africa, could be very smooth, very pleasant, combining both roadways and waterways, and you have excellence all through. So I'm happy to hear this story. Anybody who feels that their truck doesn't matter to them, they have a saying here, you do anyhow, you see anyhow.
Joe, I would come to you shortly, but I would give you probably double your cup of coffee twice when you get to say these things in the morning on Fridays, Lagos being the Venice of Africa. So you might as well you could say it again. So for those at the back who didn't hear it.
You see, the thing is this, Lagos is blessed with a lot of waterways and all that, and with a very intelligent planning. You could have multimodal forms of public transport, which would involve the roads, the rails, and the waterways, so that you create, parking spaces where people can park their cars and board other means of traffic. I aver that Lagos reminds me of Miami, which is rife with waterways and all that, and there is no reason why we cannot add water to the other means of transport. Yes, Lagos, I have the vision of it being not just the Venice, but the Lagos of Africa, akin to Venice.
Okay, now before we go over to Joe, just a moment. How complicit are the unions, the unions of these tankers in being enablers of these bad behaviors of their members?
Are unions not composed of human beings? If a union member, or if union members, or if unions themselves are complicit, they can be prosecuted, scrapped, or other punishments exist within our legal system. We don't need new laws, whether at the federal or state level, to stop a person or a group from being an absolute and utter nuisance to people.
Joe, you have something to throw in, then we get to your papers.
Yeah. I have a perspective to this that it is all a result of poor planning. if you know that infrastructures or facilities exist in an area that will draw this kind of challenges, then you plan the road construction to accommodate that, or you enforce organizations when they are designing that they should provide parking spaces for these vehicles. So it's not just enough to go tow these vehicles. You have not addressed the problem. The root problem is that poor planning that we have. You know, you in some parts of even in the UK, you find in facilities similar to refineries and so on, there are laybys where vehicles can park these vehicles and without obstructing traffic. So what is wrong with our planning? Why don't we just get certain simple things right? Why is it difficult? So you tow somebody's vehicle today, so what? There is no alternative. There is no where the man is going to park his vehicle. So what should he do? That's a critical question.
Okay, this conversation is getting interesting. So I believe the listener,
I have been to Lagos Port. I've imported things. There is parking. There's also a large amount of indiscipline and indifference. So the two of them must come in. You're right, Joseph. Let the facilities, and that's why I went to the roads. The roads and parks need to be maintained properly. But that said, a lot of people just feel I can do anything and get away with it. Let's start with some consequences. Everybody else will fall in line.
Thank you, Joe. We're about to get to you, but I like the listener to know they are also an integral part of this conversation on Freshly Pressed this morning. So we expect to read from them the messages in the thought to the headlines on 0809-444-0981. You can also watch this conversation going on youtube.com/smooth981 FM Lagos. Search for us and you can subscribe to our channel there. Joe, this paper, The Punch, is for you, and it screams with the headline, Federal Government Warns Against Sexual Harassment in Universities. That's according to reporting what the professor, the Minister of Education, Tari Mama, speaking on Thursday.
Yeah, the background to this story is what we discussed some time ago on this program, the incident in Unical, where the Dean of Laws was allegedly involved in sexual harassment of students. And so the Vice Chancellor was presenting a report to the minister as to the outcome of their internal investigation. And that's why the minister now made this statement, warning that the government was never going to take lightly these incidents in tertiary educational institutions. But it goes beyond that. I mean, he went further to say that they are going to have sexual harassment desks in institutions across the country, and this will address some of these challenges that the female students face. I mean, we all know this is rampant. There have been incidents where a few lecturers have been caught pants down, literally, in this kind of things. But this, I warned last time on this when we discussed this, it's a legal matter because the professor has gone to court. He's challenging the allegations against him, and he's challenging the university's right to set up any inquiry over his suspension and order. So, and as I stated then, before you get to the point where because the Vice Chancellor said they follow due processes, you need to quash that injunction for you, whatever you're doing to stand. You have to go to the court, address that matter that the man is raising. The objection is challenging the authority of the university to do that. It may not be valid. And I mean, this is the point. That the person goes to court to challenge your process doesn't mean that it's valid. But that is what will eventually lead to not being investigated. But it is the right of the court to say, look, we are throwing out this injunction. Go ahead and do whatever you have to do. Okay. So I hope that the Unical authorities are taking cognizance of that part of it, because there's a lawyer, he knows what he's doing. He may be guilty. I've been saying that these things should be done doesn't mean that he's innocent. But then once a person goes to court to challenge your process, it's important that you clear that first before you proceed. Otherwise, the court can just throw out all of these things that you are doing.
All right, chime in. AB has got a little to throw in there. Maybe what's you have something to add?
As we set up these panels and all that, all I expect is that proper investigations will be done, because there have been stories, false accusations as well.
Yeah.
Let's just make sure we do the proper due diligence. As Joseph said, the guilt of a person is established until they're convicted. So people are innocent until proven guilty. Let's always keep that in mind. Next story.
This takes us, and I'll still stay with, I'd like to stay in Abuja with Joe for this next story, for equal measure. And then it goes from the Vanguard newspaper. This story goes, it's money matters and economy. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, removes Forex ban on 43 items. Joe, we are back at this again. Can we just make up our mind what we want to do with these items?
Yeah,
speak to us about this.
I'm concerned. The idea behind banning these items was to help boost local production of all these items, and they include cement, tomatoes, roof building materials, all kinds of things.
Toothpicks.
That the government felt can be done here. But you guess what? And of course, so the people importing these things were starved of Forex, and they were not able to access Forex like those who were not in the list. But the truth was that it did not prevent them from importing anything. So I think that's why the government has now said, okay, well, if that is the case, we can as well just leave them, because the aim is actually to manage the fluctuations and the disparities that are in the parallel market is still existing. The government thought they can walk it away by introducing some kind of window that people can go and trade for Forex, but it has not done so. And so all the central bank is trying to do is to see how they can channel Forex into a central area pool where they can now manage better. I don't know how effective, I'm not an economist, but I don't know how effective this is going to play out. But on the other side, I'm concerned about the effect of wholesale importation of all these banned items into the country with hard Forex that it's in short demand, in high demand and in short supply,
Maybe let's hear what your thoughts will be on this return.
The concept of bans go to the lowest common, most unintelligent way to tackle something. And it shows a complete lack of understanding about how manufacturing is done. An aeroplane that you enter is actually manufactured across lots of different places and countries. The final product we enter. Similarly, you are talking about banning Forex, not understanding that if you don't make the environment in your own country conducive for manufacturing, then you have not done anything. Rather than banning Forex in that unintelligent way that was done by the last administration, you would have made all the inputs and power especially available, and the roads for moving them and the facilities for storing the items better here. It's natural. When something is cheaper to get somewhere and the quality is comparable, people will buy the available one. So you don't just go and say you're banning without doing the other things. It is short-sighted. It is, I repeat, unintelligent, and it resulted in nothing at the end of the day. That is why they've had to remove it, because it's a pointless policy.
So, Abi, we will get back to you to start the play once again. Let's get to the messages we called for. They're here already, and they're raining in. So let's get more in now. Abbas Oladepo sent in this one saying, 18 trailers removed from Apapa Oshodi Expressway, but found their ways to Ago Kota Road. They have turned the route to a permanent parking lot before call-up. I asked the Commissioner of Environment, who has been doing serious work about this some days ago, but it went offline. Even when I called last man number, their spokesperson, who was at that time invited to speak to us, and then he said they know nothing about it and are trying to do something about it, but then this is not as swift as the officials jumping into private vehicles for arrest and impounding. Lagos drags too much on enforcing laws. This has been the issue on many grounds. That's Abbasi's thoughts this morning. So I drift away to get Olatunde Akinwumi's message in. No high marks for the move. That's relating to the return of the 43 items and the ban that was on those items in terms of Forex. So it goes on, it was always blindly obvious, yet undone. And then if you unifying exchange rate, it makes no sense to keep those items banned from the official Forex. Now, the crux of the matter going forward is this. Does the CBN have the firepower to satisfy the demand that will inevitably flow to the official window? And if they don't, can they convince the markets that they do? On both counts, I say no, until we earn enough USD to satisfy the import demands and convince the markets we do, we just they play. That's what he has to say. Olatunde Akinwumi had to say about that one. And then I go over to Lakon's message this morning with this one, a lot of it. And it says, the government exhibits contradictory behavior by both being a significant factor in the high cost of construction, that's relating to that story earlier on, and maintaining a two-faced approach. This is primarily both to two reasons. The approval procedures are not only expensive, but also overly complicated. They are numerous regulatory agencies, including LASPA, LASBACA, and material testing organizations, amongst others. To secure approval from these agencies for a small duplex may need to allocate approximately 6 to 10 million naira, a significant financial burden. The issue lies in the fact that these regulatory bodies seem primarily focused on revenue generation. As an example, LASPA raised their permit fees from 95 naira per square meter to 400 to 600 per square meter this year. Then comes in, yes, Ladile, that's someone speaking, saying he had experience. And then so we've got this one from Ladile J. Is Mr. Joe stylishly saying that the trailers and tankers have justifiable reasons for being a menace? Also, their parking on the roads and all damages the roads further. But then they too, they are taxpayers in some ways paying revenue. Two wrongs don't make it right. But let's move on. Tino comes up with this one. Spot on analysis on this tanker matter. As with everything, some Nigerians are just indisciplined and indifferent, operating with impunity by default. Enforcement of laws needed. Government doing what needs to be done needed. Yinka Bolu comes up with this one saying, Joseph, the Ogun State government under Benga Daniels built a trailer park at Ijebu-Ode. The park was meant to be used in collaboration with the trucks call-up system, but the indiscipline made it less effective. Ideally, you shouldn't park your vehicle indiscriminately anywhere just because parking wasn't provided for you. Is it when they block the third mainland bridge? Please, I fully support the towing. In fact, let them tow the trucks, vehicle or whatever, and crush it to serve as a deterrent. Guys, we need to get back and pick some more.
You had that guy harsh.
All right, so you were going to start the play for us. Let's get to AB. AB, if you do this for us in about less than 2 minutes, we'll be happy so we can get to more messages. Let's see this one. It's for you. It's saying from the Punch newspaper, 90% of Nigerians should be digitally literate by 2030. That's according to the minister. Is it the standard too high?
Not at all. When you think that the actual world has been transformed from the notion of minerals underneath us. I've said many times that Nigeria's wealth is actually 2 meters above the ground in our brains, rather than 2,000 meters below the ground in oil wells. And think about this. How many oil wells does Amazon have? Does XYZ have? 0. Yet their petty cash in their companies is more than Nigeria's budget. Why? Technology. So for us to have this aspiration is absolutely fantastic. Think about this too. Nigerians, unfortunately and unfairly, are known as quote unquote online tricksters. We don't have anything on Russia and co, or even America itself. But so if we can convert that intellect, that ability, that skill into digital literacy, and don't forget, digital literacy doesn't mean all of us are going to be wizards online. just for the woman in the market to be able to access an online form and make a request is digital literacy, to be familiar with the modern tools. That's all it takes. So 90% is not at all too high. It is a very good aspiration. And honestly, those are the kind of things that encourage me that some people are trying to see beyond the current life of, oh, empowerment, give somebody 2,000, empowerment, give somebody 5,000. That is actually creating a sad story. So I like this policy. If it's followed, it will be good for us. And it's not tomorrow, it's 2030. So there's plenty of time to achieve that. I applaud, I approve. I think this is fantastic.
Joe, I raised down to you with a copy of the Nation newspaper, so you can break this down for us in about a minute. And it says federal government plans changes in criteria for promotion of paramilitary services. Walk us through this.
Very brilliant view by the minister there, where he was saying that some intellectual input or this show of intellectual stamina is required for promotion of personnel in the service, in the paramilitary organizations. So it's not a matter of coming to write promotion exam based on civil service rules and all those kind of things, and you're automatically promoted when you win it, when you pass it. But that you should have some intellectual depth. And I think that, and he talked about training. So it's important, very, very important.
Well, thank you so much. So that leaves me with enough time to raise to some more messages here. I've got Tony from Amuwo or Dauphin, I guess. And that's Raboni from Festac. It says, lecturers are facing all these sex scandals for grade is unfortunate, but my time at the university campus was not a pleasant one, especially the way most female students dress provocatively and seductively, then, of course, look away.
It's not an excuse. Yeah.
Teach.
Focus. None at all. Close your eye. Face your
Facebook. Then it says, especially the way most female students dress provocatively, seductively. Some of these girls are sick. Likewise, a lecturer who's seeking for sex in order to pass as students. On trucks, my truck you see parked on the highway, they pay daily 2,000 naira collected on behalf of key politicians in the state. So it seems there's an enablement somewhere for bad behavior. So I've got Ajayi Olonilua from Magodo saying, it's surprising that despite the acute shortage of foreign exchange, the federal government is lifting the forex ban on rice and other products that are produced locally. God help us. Next, I've got JP who says, on Apapa and the trucks, consequence management is the solution as they have parks but queue on the roads. E-Collab was set up for this. As per ban on forex, issue is supply. Cheers, JP. Dan Okudwa comes up this morning with this one. It says, impunity is at the root of the traffic chaos we experience in Lagos. If people are disciplined and law-abiding, half of the traffic chaos we see in Lagos is gone. Dan Okuda from Igondo. And then that's where I pick up a message from Ayo this morning. And guess what? She says, on the removal of trailers from Apapa Road, AB hits the nail on the head, and is also the reason why they are hooked to us, freshly pressed. And then he says, the governor should be ready for the tanker drivers strike very soon. But this statement from AB this morning should encourage the government. We are in full support of the action to rid Apapa Road of this constant menace. By the way, Joseph, there are parking spaces for these trucks. They just simply refuse to use them. They claim it's far from their lifting sites. That's what they had to say. Then she goes on to harassment. This should extend to primary and secondary school also. It seems it's happening, not seem it happens there too. Yeah, so look at that.
Yeah,
then I see Nick's message. I see Nee's message. I see Cisco Delgado's message. I want to say thank you. Gilbert Musa, that's from First Stack, a regular. I see your message. I also see Yinka Bolu's message here. Thank you all very much. But gentlemen, Joseph Obari at the nation's capital, thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, AB.
And I want to say thank you to AB Bozimo.
Thank you all. Today is Friday the 13th. Interesting. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. No spooky stuff.
Have a great day, gentlemen. Bye.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, it's a wrap on Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.